Good afternoon. Welcome to Chapter 2 of Excel. We will be studying about formulas, functions, and formatting. Now, last chapter we learned a couple of things about formulas and functions. Remember, if you're going to write a formula that you write yourself, it will always start with an equal sign. That is how Excel knows that is a formula that you are writing. If you're using a formula that Microsoft Excel creates and you just fill in the blanks, then that is called a function, and you do not put the equal sign in for that. Excel will do that for you. Another strange thing that's happening at the end of last semester, Microsoft Office themes started being kind of strange. Some work, some don't. So, if for some reason a theme doesn't work for you in this lesson, then just do the best you can. Choose the closest colors you can. Choose the closest fonts you can. And hopefully by the time you get to this lesson, it will all work fine, because Microsoft is usually Johnny on the spot. So, with that being said, let's turn to Excel, page 70, and we're going to open up a blank spreadsheet in Excel. And you know, I am a firm believer in saving first and saving often. And since the book has not told us what to save this as yet, I am going to save it as Excel Chapter 2 Project. Of course, with my last name, first initial in there first. So, however you want to save it, as long as it's something I can understand, then that will be just fine. So, Excel Chapter 2. Alright, and you can see, of course, that I have done this lesson before. And we're just going to erase the one from last year. Alright, so the first thing it has you do is type in several different things. And I know that y'all know how to type stuff in. So I'm not going to insult you by walking you through each step, or who knows. So the first thing in A1, number 1, it says to type hypermass online storage, and that is your title for your table. It looks like it's going to be one of those kind of typing days. Now remember, we talked last chapter about the spillover. So all of this is actually in cell A1, even though it looks like it's in cell B1 and C1. But see, you notice that it is not in B1 or C1. It is all in A1. That is the spillover. So in A2, we're going to type salary report. Alright, and I hit enter to move down. In A3, we're going to type employee. And then we're going to hit the right arrow. So these are going to be our column titles. And then we're going to type dependents. And I am arrowing over. You can tab over, whichever makes you happy. Then, if you look on number 3, it has you do this one a little different. It's going to force the way it wraps. Instead of it wrapping by how wide the cell is, you're going to make it wrap right here after the word hours. So first you type in the word hours, and then you type it, hold the alternate key on your keyboard, and then hit enter on your keyboard. And notice that the cursor moved down, but we are still in cell C3. Okay, so what that did, it forced the wrap, and we're going to type in worked right here, and then tab or arrow. You will do the same thing with hourly rate. So in D3, you're going to type hourly, hold down your alternate key and hit enter, and then type pay rate. And you can hit the right arrow key or tab, whatever makes you happy. Then we'll type gross pay and tab. And if you spell wrong, you know, it's one of those kind of days. You can always double click in the cell and fix it. And then federal tax. And that also. And you can tab or right arrow. In a G3, you will type state tax. And in H3, you'll take tax %sign. So that is the shift and the 5. Then I3, you'll type net pay. And a J3 is hire date. All right. So we have our stuff in. Now, since dependent is hidden, the end of it, I'm going to double click in between my B and my C because that's annoying to me. I hate it when I can't see this whole thing. Same thing with federal tax. Notice how you can double click in between and just make the cell wider so you can see. And by all means, that's not the end of it. It just makes me happier for now. And go ahead and save because you never know what's going to happen. And then if you look on page 71, it has you typing in a lot of information. And if you read each thing in the book, it will take you forever. So I'm going to give you a shortcut. Look on page 71 at the bottom. See where it says Table 2-1, Hypermass Online Storage Salary Report Data. You are going to type in all of that data right now. Now, for me, it's easier for me to type information and then hit enter and work my way down the table. It seems for me to go a lot faster. You can do however you want. And I'm even going to say we're going to pause this after we get started so you can finish, because there's no sense you sitting here watching me type. And yeah, it'll be good. So let's go ahead. I'll get you started. Table 2-1, the first column is employee. So the first thing is we will type Carl, comma, Michael. All right, and then hit enter. Notice it goes straight down, and then you'll type Green, comma, Sue. All right, and then hit enter. So it will go a lot faster to put all of this stuff in like that. And I'll come back when I go to different columns to kind of give you some hints about those different columns. All right, so you have fun with that. Now, after you finish typing that column, you will go ahead and make it wide enough so you can see the whole name. And notice that since we have that spillover, so I'm going to grab and drag it and fit that exactly so I can see all the names, but it's not too big. And then for the dependents, I'll just type the numbers going straight down. So 3, enter, 0, enter. It goes a whole lot faster like that. So go ahead and pause that and type in that column, and then I'll give you some hints about the hours worked column. See you in a second. Now on hours worked, notice that it has 60.45. So there are cents for each. Now the cool thing about Excel, it does some work for you. So just a little hint. Notice the first one you have to type 60.45 and then I hit enter, or you can hit the down arrow. Okay. Now the next one, notice it is 81.50. With Excel, you don't have to put the 0 when it's a decimal, at the end of a decimal. So if it's 81.50 in the book, all you have to do is type 81.5 and the formatting of Excel will take care of it. Now if it leaves it at 81.5, all we have to do is tell Excel to format it with 2 decimal places and it adds it for you. So it'll save you 1 keystroke, which if you are typing a ton of information, that would be great. And the other one, just so you know, clear down at the bottom, the last 2 are 80 and 70. For those, you can just type 80 and 70. And then when we format the column with 2 decimal points, Excel will add those in for you. So that will save you some time. So go ahead and type in the hours worked and the hourly pay rate, and then put the video back on, and we will talk about the hire date and the best way to do that. See you in a second. And now that we've typed in those things, we need to type in the dates. Now, with the date, sometimes when you type it in, it does strange things. Sometimes when you type it in, it does exactly what you need. So if you look in the date column, you'll see that the first date for the hire date is 4/5/10. Now, I typed it in just like it is. When I hit enter, notice that it goes ahead and spills out to the whole 2010. That's okay. When we're done with the whole thing, we will go ahead and format that correctly. Now, if you ended up with something strange and it doesn't look like that, all you have to do is come up to here. Let's just say, this is the most normal thing that happens. Sometimes our date turns into this and we don't know why. So don't worry about it. It's no big deal. All you have to do is slide up here. Notice I'm on the home tab and the number bank. And right now I'm going to click on this down arrow. And all you have to do is go in, slide down and choose a short date. And that'll change it back to the normal date. Alright, so let's go ahead and type in the dates and then we'll get back together. So hit pause, type in your dates, and then come back. See you in a second. Now notice right here, see how I have a bunch of pound signs? That doesn't mean anything's wrong with what I typed in. It just means that my column is not wide enough. So all I have to do is slide up here in between the J and the K. Notice that my cursor turns to a bar with 2 arrows, and I can double click or click and drag to make it wide enough, and now I can see everything. Also, it's a good time to double check to make sure that everything you typed in is correct. Although in a minute we will put a totals row here, and if anything's wrong in the totals, then you know there's something wrong somewhere up here. So you're doing fine just like you are, really. So with that being said, let's turn the page, and on page 73 it tells you, on page 72 it tells you to change the tab to salary report. So all you have to do is double click on that and type salary report, and we did that last chapter. Also notice that it tells you to right click and change the tab color, and we also did that last chapter. And the tab color for this is the green accent 6, darker 25%. So even though theme is having some Office is having some difficulties with their themes right now, this one will be fine because this is the Office theme. So everybody will have this and you will be fine. So make sure that is what you choose at that point. Okay, so on page 73 it tells you to save, and we save and save often. That's a good thing. Now it does give you the correct name, which in my opinion is way too long for a file. In real life you would not name a file a name that long, but you are welcome to go ahead and type that in as your name. If you want to do that, do file save as, and make sure you do last name first, first initial, and you can save it like that. Okay, now at the bottom of page 73, notice that we are entering formulas, and it gives you the formulas that we're going to enter in. Now I'm going to go ahead and read it from here because going through the book it gives you so many instructions, but I'm doing the same thing that the book is saying. I'm just not reading every single direction. Alright, so with that being said, remember the very first thing you type when you personally are writing the formula. Now we're very thankful that Excel has the formulas in the book for us, but anytime you write the formula, it must start with an equal sign first. So the first thing we're going to do is click in E4, and we're going to type the equal sign. I'm looking at the bottom of page 73. and where it says to enter a formula using the keyboard, number 1 says gross pay is in column E, so that's where we are, column E, and we are in E4, must be in E4. And we're going to type equals, and then you will click on hours worked. Okay? And the X is another sign for the times. For us, or for multiplication, for us we will do the shift key and the 8, which puts a star there, and that is times for the computer, so it knows what you're talking about. And then we're going to click on hourly rate. Alright, now yes, you can type those, but if you type them, you are more likely to make a mistake than if you click on them. So if at all possible, it is good to click on them. Also remember that it is color coded, so C4 is the blue one and D4 is the red one. Now, since we want to move our cursor to the right and not down, we're going to click on the enter check mark like that. Okay? Now, you can arrow, tab, or click in F4. So click in F4, federal tax. And if you look at number 2 at the bottom of page 73, federal tax is in column F, so F4. And you're going to type, first thing, equal sign. Now, also remember I told you that you never ever want to use numbers. If at all possible, you always want to use cell addresses. So in the real world, I would probably make a cell address somewhere down here, name it something so that if this point 22 ever changed, I could only change it in one place, and it would change it throughout my entire spreadsheet without me having to redo all my formulas. It's a big, 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 big time saver. All right, so the federal tax, we're going to type point 22, and then the shift 8 for the star. Open parenthesis is shift 9. And then we're going to click on gross pay, the formula that we just typed in E4. Minus, and then click on dependents, which is in B4. Alright. And then times, which for us is the star. And we're going to type 24.32. Alright. And anytime you have one open parenthesis, you always have to have a close. However many opens you have to have the same amount of closes. Just a basic formula rule. So close that parenthesis, and once again I'm going to click on the check mark for our enter. And this time I arrowed over to the state tax, which is in G4. So looking at number 3, state tax is in column G. And I'm going to click on my equal sign. First thing you type. Then times, which is our, .04. We don't have to type that first 0. You don't have to type 0.04 because if there's nothing there, the computer reads it as 0. So why waste the time? So 0.04, and then the star to times. And then click on gross pay, which is in E4. And that is the end of that formula. And you will click on the check mark, because once again we are moving over. In H4, which is our tax percent, the formula is in number 4 at the bottom of page 73. And so the first thing we're going to type is the equal sign. Open parenthesis, so if we have an open, remember when we end we have to have a close. We will click on federal tax, which is in F4, plus, which is above the equal sign, so you have to do the shift key. Click on state tax, which is this formula right here, which is in G4. So we are going to close our parenthesis here. And then we're going to divide, which is the sign underneath the question mark, and by gross pay. So we will click on E4. So you should have equals, open parenthesis, F4 plus G4, close parenthesis, divide, E4. And that is the end of the tax percent formula. So check mark, and things are looking wonderful. So now let's click on net pay, which is in column I, row 4. So I4 is the net pay formula. First thing you type is equal. And looking at number 5 on page 73, we are going to click on gross pay minus, open parenthesis, click on federal tax, which is in F4, plus state tax, which is in G4, and then close the parenthesis. And we have a check mark, and there we go. Now, life is great. We're going to save because we thought so very hard, right? And we want to select all of these and copy these formulas down. Do y'all remember how to do that? Alright, so I'm going to give you a little refresher. With the white plus sign, hold your shift key down and drag across from E4 to I4. Let go of your shift key, of your mouse key, and then slide down till you get the plus sign, the black plus sign. Notice there's no arrows, and hold down your mouse and then slide down to row 12. So, and then it copies the formulas. Pretty awesome, right? Yay. Okay, so hit save because we worked so very hard, right? Not really. Okay, now we want to go ahead and add in our functions that the computer will do for us. So click in A13. Okay, now in A13 it wants us to type in the word totals. So look on page 72 at the top. Number 1 says type in totals in A13. So we're going to type totals, and then I'm going to hit enter and type highest. That's number 2. Number 3 says lowest, and number 4 says average. Okay, now there's several ways to do these. I'm going to do the easiest way. The book does show you some other ways, and they are great. To me, it's like, why work that hard? But it's cool that you can. So I'm going to show you the easiest way. All right, and we're going to go through and do some adjustments here in a minute. So just stick with me. In B13, it's asking for totals. So in B13, we're going to come across to where we have auto sum right now, and just click on auto sum. Okay, now life is grand. We double check, yes, we do want B4 through B12. We do want to add it, so yay, we're so happy. And we're going to click on the check mark. Alright, you can also hit enter. Alright, so in B14 it says that we want the highest. Highest is what we're looking for. So if you come over here to your functions, click on the down arrow instead of the auto sum, and notice here you have average, max, and min. Notice over here you have highest, lowest, and average. Same thing, right? The computer's done all the work for you. So here, max is the same thing as highest, so we will click on max. Now notice that my computer thinks I want to include totals, but no, I do not want to include totals because that's going to mess everything up, right? So there's several different ways to fix this, and I'm going to show you the first way, and then you do the way you like. If you slide down to the bottom right hand corner, notice how I get the double arrow. I can hold down my left mouse button and slide up one, so that now this says B4 through B12. All of these only go through B12, but the computer's going to think you want all of them. Alright, so this is when you have to double check that you're getting the right stuff. So yes, we're going to do the maximum number, or the biggest number, in between B4 through B12 for all the dependents. So once again, our check mark, and yay. Okay, so now we're doing lowest. So come back over here, click on the down arrow where auto sum is, go to min, for minimum, right? Lowest, smallest, littlest, lowest, okay, minimum, same thing. And notice once again that is selected clear down to B14. We only want to go to B12. So another way to do the same thing, you can hold down your left mouse button and select just through B12. Okay, so if that's your preferred way, then that works great. Okay, all right, and a check mark. Okay, so enter or click in average. And so I think you've got the gist of it now. Click on the down arrow, choose average. And once again, it's gone too far, right? Okay, so old school way, you can type in the number also. Like if I can click here, I can back over that 5 and type in a 2. And now we have B4 through B12. So that option is available to you. But remember that I prefer never to type in ICEL addresses. If at all possible, it is always better to use the mouse so you don't accidentally make a mistake. I don't know about you, but I personally make an error now and then. So why suffer through all of that? Okay, so just like we copied these formulas all the way down here, we can do the same thing here. So with the white plus sign, select B13 through B16. And yes, I know in the book it's not actually there, and I'm going to take care of that here in a minute. So anybody who's kind of stressing out, don't worry, we're going to take care of it. So we selected with our white plus sign B13 through B16. Now I'm going to slide down to my bottom right hand corner with the black plus sign, no arrows, just the black plus sign, and hold down the left mouse button and drag it across to I, column I. Now we're not going to do totals, highest, lowest, average on dates. That's, not logical. Alright, so there is everything. Okay, we're going to hit save because we've done a lot of work, and in case something strange happens, we can fix it. Now, looking at our book, and I realize I have skipped over a lot, so I hope I haven't stressed anybody out too terribly much. And the book is good. You really should read it. But if you'll look on page 88, you'll see there are 3 cells that we have formulas in that the book does not. And it's very easy to delete them. So the first thing, if you'll notice, everybody clicking B13. Alright, so in the book, that is not there. So all you have to do is select B13 and hit the delete key on your keyboard, and it is gone. Piece of cake, right? Also, you will notice that there is nothing in D13. D is in dog. So, of course, totaling hourly rate, that's not a normal thing to total. So click in D13 and hit delete. All right. Now, in the book, it also tells you to delete H16. So let's go to H16. And the reason why it has you delete that is because it is the mathematically invalid average of percentages. So we're going to delete that. In other words, it's not a real thing. Okay, so all is awesome. And we are going to save this. And according to the book, it looks like it's time to take a break. I'll see you back in a second.